Top Iranian General Qassem Soleimani was buried in Iran Wednesday. It happened hours after the country attacked Iraqi bases housing U.S. troops in response to the general's death. Melissa Etehad reports that in killing Soleimani, the United States, quote, gave Iran what it reveres, a martyr. Melissa covers foreign affairs and Iran for the Los Angeles Times, and she joins me now from L.A. Melissa, thanks very much for being with us. You write that General Soleimani's death elevated him to a pantheon of martyrs that has endured for centuries. How has martyrdom shaped the country culturally and politically?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on. Well, when we talk about martyrdom in Shiite Islam, we're talking about the sacrifice of oneself, not just for the nation, but also Islam. And the way we've seen it develop in Iran was back in the Iran-Iraq War, when there was over 500,000 casualties in both the Iran and Iraqi side. What Iran did was they had plastered photos of some of the soldiers who have died. And that served to be a motivator for people to stand up for Iran and the nation, to help patriotism. And in light of Soleimani's death, we're seeing something similar happen. Throughout alleyways, throughout the streets, people are holding up pictures of Soleimani and are showing very vulnerable emotions in this moment that's very, very sad for the nation. But in making the comparison with martyrdom, we have to also keep in mind that the Iran-Iraq War was one place in one moment, and what we're seeing now is completely different. So when we're talking about Iranians using Soleimani's death as a way for people to revere martyrdom, it's not in the same way. People in Iran do want to sacrifice themselves, but in a sense of making it more like aspiring for it to be humble and to be more pious.
So were you surprised then, given that context that you just spelled out, by the response in Iran to his death? And is it comparable to past officials in Iran?
You know, I'm not that surprised. And we also have to make note that Iran is home to 80 million people, and there's a wide range of differing views and opinions and thoughts. Yes, it was, quite a spectacle to see so many people come out and mourn Soleimani's death, but what we're doing and what we're seeing in terms of him being revered by so many Iranian authorities and officials at the moment is that they're trying to use him as a way to establish nationalism. And that's an important thing to note as well.
Well, what did General Soleimani symbolize in Iran?
Soleimani was a really effective military strategist, and one of the things that made him a great leader to many people and a hero to many Iranians was that he was able to stand out and above some of the internal domestic politics that have divided Iranian politicians and authorities in recent years. And because he operated outside of the country, that was a very effective way for him to stand above and make people feel like he was different, and he was able to bring Iranians together.
Well, yesterday, President Trump walked back his threat against Iranian cultural sites, and you've reported on this. How damaging is it to threaten these kinds of sites?
Oh my goodness, it's so damaging in a lot of ways, and actually very depressing when you think about it. If you go back a few years to when the nuclear deal was signed, Iranians had actually been trying to court American tourists to come visit Iran. And one of the ways they were doing that was by saying, hey, look, we have these dozens of cultural heritage sites. They're beautiful. It spans, thousands of years. Many religions and empires have come through, and they were successful. Tourism had actually increased. Now, in light of Trump's threats, it's a shame because now Americans are unlikely to see such awe-inspiring monuments and mosques and palaces. And it also, critics have noted that it amounts to a war crime if such spaces were targeted.
Right. It was really interesting to hear the president walk back what he had tweeted very forcefully, using that very direct language. Interesting to hear the president's sort of evolution very quickly on that topic. Melissa Etehad. Melissa, thank you very much.
Thank you.